With a new set, there comes a completely new meta, and in this video, I'll share my tier list and strategy for climbing on this patch, then I'll walk you through how to play all the comps I mentioned. The tier list is based on my own experience, what the top challengers are playing, and also what the data says about every single comp. I've also color-coded the damage sources of each comp to make it easier to see what sort of damage is most prominent in the meta. In S tier, we have Renata Brusier. This is a stall comp that feels very similar to Vanguard Mystic comps from previous sets. It has a very high cap, so you will win the game a lot of the time when playing this comp. Followed closely behind is Hextech Sivir. This is a mixed damage comp as Sivir deals a ton of AD, but with Hextech synergy, she becomes an AP carry as well. The first person to hit Challenger in set 6.5 only played Hextech Sivir on their climb, which shows the power of this comp. It's mostly a top 4 comp though, so you will rarely win games with this comp, but you will get a lot of top 4s and you will almost never go 8th. In A tier we have Ahri. I've had a lot of success with this comp, and I think it's being undervalued in the current meta by most other players. And it's another AP carry comp that goes right into the top, which is worth noting. Innovators are yet again meta, but this comp has some variations now as you can play either Jhin or Jace carry here now as well, but you can still play it in the same way as you would back in set 6.0. Mutants are still overall very strong, so they get put in A tier. Challenger Chemtech runs both Tryndamere and Warwick as its carries. The comp is too inconsistent though for it to be any higher than A tier, as it has to hit multiple 3 stars. 6 Yordles are a lot more consistent now with Corki as the main carry, and I have climbed a fair amount playing this comp. The only thing holding this comp back is that it's very reliant on augments, but we'll talk more about that later. Irelia has a ton of variations. You can play her with 6 Scrap, 6 Strikers, and also with 3 Socialite. However, she struggles a lot into Bruisers and Bramblevest, and it's just overall too weak to put her any higher than B tier. Twitch Reroll is still strong, but it requires a specific opener and items for it to do well, which is why it's not any higher than B tier. If there's any comps I did not mention here, it's because that comp will be in C tier or lower. Now moving on to my strategy for climbing on this patch. If we look at the meta, it's almost exclusively AP comps at the top, and mostly AD comps in B tier or below. Therefore, I pick openers and items that play well into the AP S tier comps. I always start tier on the starting carousel. This is because Renata, Ahri, Malzahar, and Corki all want blue buff. Additionally, if you have more tiers left over, you can make Static Shiv or Chalice. In other words, you can never have too many tiers when playing AP comps. From there, I always default towards Renata Brusier as it's an incredibly consistent and strong comp, and I have the option of pivoting into Ahri, Mutants, or Innovators if the situation suits better for those comps. There are 2 openers I always try to hit. The first one is 3 Yordles. This gives you more econ, and Corki is also a great early game carry. This makes the transition to Ahri incredibly easy, and it also plays well into Renata as long as you get out of the bodyguards and into Bruisers during the mid game. If you have good augments for Yordles, you can also play the 6 Yordle comp from here. The second opener I love is Mercenary. Misfortune is a decent item carrier for Renata, and since you're playing Bruisers early, it's very easy to transition into that comp from there as well. But since you are relying on a 3 cost with either Misfortune or GP when playing Mercenaries, it's not something you can look for every game. But I also want to note that you don't have to open for it with this, as Renata is a very strong comp right now. You can't just push for win streak Mercenaries, as your late game board will be strong enough to win most of the time anyways. The third opener I love is Hextech Scrap. This opener is very versatile, as it allows us to use Ezreal as the item carrier if you want to lean into AD comps, and it allows you to use Ziggs as the item carrier if you want to lean into AP comps. Now let's talk about these comps a little bit more in depth. I'll make in-depth guides on most of these at some point, so if you want to learn about any of these comps in depth, make sure to subscribe to the channel. First up is Renata Brusier. The comp is 6 Bruisers plus Renata, then you play Victor in for 3 Chemtech at level 8, and also for him to be another carry. Your main carry is Renata, and Morello is the only must-have item. The comp just doesn't have enough damage without Morello. After that, build blue buff. This is to make sure that she casts right away with that plus 50 starting mana, and it also makes her repeat cast a lot more often. Socin can also work as a replacement for a blue buff. Third item is Gunblade. This is to heal up Renata and also the rest of our Bruisers. Hodge can work as a replacement for Gunblade. Throw AP or tank items on Vi, and once you hit Tahm Kench, throw AP and tank items on him as well. The goal is to get to level 8 as fast as possible so you have a realistic chance of hitting Tahm Kench for 6 Bruisers. And if you are able to make it to level 9, add in Silco for 2 Scholars. As for augments, anything that buffs up the Bruisers is insane in this comp. Blue Battery is also fantastic here as it makes Vi only need 1 auto between every cast, and it also makes Renata only need 3 autos to cast again. Next up is Hextech Sivir. Her itemization is very strange, so let's break it down. The core item is Static Shiv. She needs this to shred the MR of enemy champions, so her on-hit magic damage will deal way more damage. QSS is there to make sure she keeps casting and auto-attacking. and Rageblade is there to make sure that she autos even faster and just snowballs like crazy. The way this comp works is by stalling for Sivir and make her shred through the entire enemy team. She will be dealing a lot of AD with her spell, but she will also be dealing a ton of AP with the Hextech trait. The goal is to get to level 8 with this comp, and if you make it to level 9, add in Silco for Mastermind to buff up Sivir even faster. As for augments, you want anything to buff up the Hextech units, and also healing augments for Sivir. Next up is Ahri. With this comp, you want to get to level 8 to hit all your 4-cost 2-star. Make sure to always have Ahri on the 3rd row, as then she can reach the enemy backline with her spell, and might one-shot some of the enemy carries right off the bat. Blue buff is essential for Ahri. This comp is close to unplayable without it. And then you add 2 more damage items on her like IE and Jewel Gauntlet, Deathcap, Archangels, or Giant Slayer. I only like running 5 Syndicate if I get +1 Syndicate, as then you can replace Renata for Morgana to get that in. As for augments, Blue Battery is insanely strong in this comp, and anything to do with Syndicates is also nice. And more damage augments like Jewel Lotus or Luden's Echo are also fantastic. Innovators are fairly similar to how they were played the last set, although now they have a lot more options in terms of where they can take the comp. But the variation I like the most is this, where you're running Seraphine as the main carry, and then the rest of the units provide utility or frontline. Sojourn and Morello are still core on Seraphine, and the 3rd item is any damage item. Banshee's Claw is also great in this comp to make sure you can corner the Seraphine. As for augments, Innovator Heart or Soul is fantastic so you can hit that dragon. In that case, you replace Senna or Vi for Ezreal to get 7 Innovators in. Also, any augment that buffs up the back 2 rows, like Backfoot and Phalox, are great, as that is where most of our units are. Mutants are played a little differently based on what the trait is that game, but with all of them, you generally want to end up with this board at level 8. From there, you try to 3-star Malzahar and or Cho'Gath to win the game. Malzahar wants blue buff and Gunblade to heal him up and Cho'Gath. Morello is great as the 3rd item to make sure his targets actually die and they don't just heal through all the damage. Cho'Gath wants Redemption and 2 other tank items. And Kai'Sa can be itemized if you 2-star her, but that is quite rare to hit at level 8. As for augments, anything to do with mutants is great. Second Wind is insanely strong to give Cho'Gath more than half of his HP back, and Blue Battery is nice to make Malzahar cast even quicker. With Chemtech Challengers, you will slow roll for 3-star Warwick and Trinivir at level 6, so you will drop Draven and Kai'Sa in this example. Once you 3-star both, level to 8 to play 6 Challengers. You will focus on Warwick or Trinivir as your main carry based on which items you get. Warwick has the exact same items as last set, where QSS tightens his core, and then the 3rd item is Shiv or Rageblade. Trinivir needs BT as he doesn't get enough healing through Chemtech, and then the last 2 items are damage items or QSS if you need that in the lobby. As for augments, you want anything to buff up Challengers or Chemtech, and healing augments are also great so you don't need BT on Trinivir. Next up is 6 Yordles. I won't go too in-depth on this as I'm releasing an in-depth guide on this coming next week, but you first slow roll at level 5 for 3-star Ziggs and Poppy, then at level 6 until you have 3 3-star units, then slow roll at level 7 with this board until you have all 6 3-stars. At level 8, add in Senna, Braum or Veigar depending on what you need, and items for Corki are the same as for Ahri, you need blue buff and then 2 damage items. Throw your tank items on Vex, and a Banshee's Claw is also really nice as you're always able to corner Corki in that case. As for augments, anything to buff up Yordles is great, healing augments are great to keep Corki alive, and other damage augments are also fantastic. Next up is Irelia. The best version of the 3 is the 3 Socialite version. You need to get to level 8 with this and then end up with this board. As for items, we need IE and Last Whisper to make sure we don't get stuck on tanks, and then QSS is great to not get CC'd. We get healing through 3 Socialites, so we don't need a healing item on her. Throw your tank items on Vi or Jace depending on who you 2-star first. As for augments, anything to buff up Socialites and Strikers is great, and stuff like Knife's Edge or Backfoot is great depending on where the Socialite hex is. Next up is Twitch Reroll. This is a lot stronger in this set as we get a built-in assassin now with Echo. You will slow roll at level 5 for 3-star Twitch and Camille with this board minus Renata, Seraphine, and Zilean. Items for Twitch are standard AD items. We need IE to make sure we can get value out of the assassin crit damage. Last Whisper is great as our team is all AD and we already have a 100% crit chance. And Hurricane is great so we can deal damage to multiple units. Throw tank items on Camille and utility items on Echo. As for augments, you want both healing augments to get more healing on Twitch, Featherweights as always is nutty and 1-cost reroll comps, and other damage augments like Luden's, Backfoot, or Knife's Edge is also great in this comp. Like already mentioned, I will most likely make in-depth guides on all of these, starting with 6 Yordles next week. So subscribe to the channel if you want to see that when it comes out. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below what video you want me to make next, and if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 7,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.